Good morning. Good morning and welcome to Unitarian Universalist Church of the Desert. I am Julia Alberg-Burbank, your worship associate for today. As we begin, we acknowledge that we are on the historic homelands of the various bands of Cahuilla people, and we honor the unique relationship that we hope emerges between our community and the indigenous people and their traditional territories. Let this acknowledgement serve as a reminder to recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Cahuilla people whose lands and water we benefit from today. In this congregation, we welcome people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, of all ages and sizes, people of all economic statuses and professions, of all physical or mental abilities, people of all races and ancestries and cultures. We welcome you wherever you come from, whoever you love, whatever your immigration status or civic engagement. We welcome all those who will learn and grow with us as we commit together to embrace the rich and beautiful diversity of the world and to build a community centered in justice, compassion, and love. You are welcome here. We are glad you're with us this morning. It's important to us here in this community to create a safe and healthy environment for everyone who gathers in worship, including those who are immunocompromised or have other risk factors. Our COVID protocols about vaccination and mask use are in place because we wish to do everything we can to protect all of us. A reminder that masks covering your mouth and nose are required to attend in-person worship, preferably KN95 masks. Please choose to act for the health and safety of our community, and our service is always available streamed on our website if you need to observe from home. We have 2 announcements from our board today. This is a friendly reminder that if you travel out of the area to please take a COVID test before returning to church. Also, if you are feeling ill, please do not come to church but join us online. In addition, please make sure your COVID boosters are up to date and consider getting a flu vaccination. Let us all work to keep our UUCOD community safe and healthy this winter. And then finally, please join us today at 11:30 for a special congregational meeting to elect our search committee members. Now I'd like to invite Joni to come on up. She has an announcement for us.
Thank you, Julia. Many of you are familiar with Script to Stage to Screen, which is the performing arts project of this church. And I wanted to let you know that we have a play this month coming up on January 21st and 22nd. The title of it is All About Moonbeams, and the playwright is the local person, June August, and we have a tremendous cast, including our very own Shirley LeMaster and Pamela Cole. So please come out and join us. The tickets are $10. It's the best theater value in the desert. I'll just read you a real quick blurb all about Moonbeams. 5 quirky women, residents of an upscale 55-plus apartment complex, join a weekly memoir writing workshop. The facilitator is a younger man, a mid-career writer, who organizes the group to achieve a personal agenda. He urges them to recount their memories, but the women are reluctant to reveal themselves. Each is hiding a compelling secret. So please join us. It should be a great show. It's a great script and a great cast. Shirley.
It's January 20th and 21st.
Is that what I said?
You said 21st and 22nd.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It is thank you, Shirley. It is the 20th and 21st. It's right in front of me. Sorry about that. Thank you very much, Julia.
And now if you would all take a breath with me, nice, slow inhale, long, safe exhale, as we ring our Tibetan bowl to begin our service and then listen to our music for centering.
Good morning, friends. I am Reverend Ian Riddell, and I have the honor and delight of serving this congregation as its minister. I'm joined in leading worship today by our worship associate, Julia Alberg-Burbank, and the members of our Committee on Ministry, Joaquin Galeano, Walter Gendell, and Jane Zaun. Today's service is a little different than originally planned and announced in our newsletter over the past while. We had planned to share with you today about our Unitarian Universalist Camp de Venable Pines, and David Pete and his family were going to share from their experiences, but unfortunately they are all recovering some non-COVID sickness and couldn't be with us today. And so I am grateful that our worship leaders today were able to say yes when I invited them to join in leading today. So thank you very much, all of you. Come. Come, whoever you are. Do you hear that voice calling you, calling us? That voice which calls us together here today in this room, made holy by our presence and by the sacred breath we share in our singing and our speaking and our silence. That voice which calls us to remember that we are not alone, and that we are inextricably linked to all other life, woven into a vast tapestry of existence of which we are a powerful, integral, and holy part. And just as we have been called together here today, we act as the voice, the heart, the hands of another call. The call to walk with the wanderers, to sing and dance with the worshipers, to proclaim the memory of those who have taken their leave, to wrap the despairing and the broken in the arms of love and community, and to hold the hands of all of us who have broken our vows and call us back again and again to the covenant and work of justice, humility, and steadfast faithfulness. For this, we are together here today. So my friends, come, let us worship together. And we're going to worship together. We're going to begin by singing together. I invite you to stand, to rise in body or in spirit as we sing, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. We'll sing it twice through, all together, and then I'll divide the room in half, and we'll sing it in two parts for 3 times through. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come, and again. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Yes. Come, come, whoever you are. Come, come, Lord away. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Come, whoever you are. Thank you.
As Reverend Ian lights our chalice, please join me in reciting the words on the screen. May love be the spirit of this church. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship, This is our aspiration. Joaquin is going to join us and light the biopot candle. As he does so, please join me in reciting the words on the screen. We light these candles in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color as they journey towards spiritual wholeness. May we, as a beloved community, work to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression. May we live out our principles so that justice, dignity, and equity for all prevail.
Good morning. For those who do not know me, my name is Walter Gendell, and I am a member of the Committee on Ministry. I have also been a member of this beloved community, along with my husband Jax, since 2013. This morning, we are talking about and thinking about beloved community and what it may mean to you. Part of that discussion will be an exercise, hopefully one you will give some thought to begin identifying and sharing how you define beloved community, what it means to you, and why it matters. We've mentioned beloved community several times already today. In fact, we just spoke those words together as we lit our biopot candles. And you're going to be hearing several of us talk about the idea and the practice of beloved community a little later in the service. But we also think it's important that you get an opportunity to share what you mean when you say beloved community. Think about what a beloved community looks like for you. What does it feel like or sound like? For example, for me, it is the sound of laughter throughout the congregation. What are people in beloved community doing for and with each other? In other words, how does being in beloved community feel like for you? This is very personal. We are not looking for a textbook definition, but a heartfelt response to what does beloved community mean to you. So I am going to ask you to think about that for a few moments, and then I'll explain the exercise. So now, I'd like you to take the pencil you have and the index card and write on the card your thoughts and ideas about beloved community. Again, what it means to you, what it is, or what it could be. And for those of you who are streaming our service this morning, please send your thoughts to Reverend Ian. It is just as important we hear from you, no matter where you are. In a few moments, we're going to take our offering, and we'd love for you to put your index card in the offering basket as it goes by. We'll collect them, and we'll be using what you've shared to help guide us and guide our work over the coming months as we explore living in the covenant and right relations together. And there may even be an art project that comes out of this. Not sure. So please, take some time and write down your thoughts about beloved community. And while you're doing that, I would like to finish, though, by sharing just a few thoughts as to what beloved community means to me. If you had asked me that question a few months ago, I may well have responded differently than I would today. But as many of you know, my husband and I went through some serious medical procedures, and thankfully today we are doing well. But during that time, this congregation, this beloved community, was amazing, and in no small way got us through a very trying time. How this beloved community circled their wagons around Jack and I and wrapped us in their love was a defining moment for me, and one that demonstrated how a beloved community responds and supports its fellow members. There may be other thoughts I have in terms of what beloved community is, but that is certainly at the top of my list. Thank you.
So I hope you will write down and share with us what you feel beloved community is. If you're not quite ready to hand it in when the offering plate goes by, you can share it with me or one of the members of our committee at the end of the service.
So I have to take this off. All right.
Thank you for your generosity for this thriving community. This reading is taken from the UU Institute training course called Claiming Our Spiritual Leadership, which several of our members have completed.
I feel like a pop star here, this microphone. One of the features of dominant culture is an expectation of comfort. We often practice covenants in UU spaces that are designed to preserve comfort by controlling behavior. In fact, this is why behavioral covenants are often generated. Of course, there is a difference between safety and comfort. There is absolutely a role for covenants in helping us to create spaces together that are free of harassment, bullying, or dominating behavior. However, we can take the idea of safety too far by equating it with comfort for the majority in the congregation. When we do this, covenanting becomes a stifling effort to control behavior in order to preserve comfort for the majority. This approach to covenant can mislead us into thinking that the way to be faithful to our covenant is to practice politeness and hide parts of ourselves that do not conform to the established norms, whatever those are.
Liberating covenant, by contrast, moves us toward beloved community where everyone can bring their whole selves. This kind of covenant calls forth our full presence with one another in authenticity and spiritual vulnerability. This invites the creation of braver space together, space where we are supported to take risks and move out of our comfort zones in the service of our own spiritual growth and true liberation for all. In contrast to behavioral covenant, we might call this liberating covenant spiritual or religious.
This is the time in our service, in our day, where we take a moment to hear the joys and sorrows that live in our hearts, some of them expressed and shared explicitly, some of them lying quiet, not quite ready to be shared. The Browns share a blessing on their dear friend Johnny McGann, who was 92 years old, who passed away this week. They share that his smile and his laugh will live on forever. That's the way to be remembered. And with sorrow over the death of their friend Carol's son, Justin. We carry the loss of these friends in our hearts, and we carry in our hearts all those joys, all those sorrows, those losses, those triumphs that are too small to be spoken, or too shy to be spoken, or not quite ready to be made public and out loud. And so we pause for a moment in the loving embrace of this community, in the loving embrace of those here in this room, of those watching from afar, the loving embrace of the larger world, which is fueled and fired, enlivened and inspirited by the love which is broader and deeper than we can ever know. We do not earn it. We can't get rid of it. It is there. And so we pause for a moment in quiet reflection, quiet prayer, quiet breathing, and call the presence of that love into our hearts and our spirits. May all beings know peace. May all beings know an end to suffering. May all beings know love. Will you sing with me now our hymns for meditation, Spirit of Life and Fuente de Amor?
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shade of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí y al corazón cátale tu compasión. Sopla volar, sube en la mar, hasta moldear la justicia de la vida. Arráyame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí.
For me, the concept of beloved community entered my consciousness with the words and works of John Lewis. His guidance showed me, a privileged, white, straight woman, how to be inclusive and broaden my worldview while being respectful of the lived experience of those so frequently marginalized by our society. Representative John Lewis was, as many know, a leader in the civil rights movement from a young age. Joining the movement cost him in personal relationships, strained his relationship with his parents, and it cost him physically, as he was beaten during sit-ins and marches. John Lewis worked to embrace the philosophy of nonviolence fully and to be a disciplined adherent. He used his life as an example to draw others to his side and to help build the beloved community. He described this community as not hateful, not violent, not uncaring, not unkind. And community means not separated, not polarized, not locked in a struggle. He also urged us to live as though beloved community was already a reality. He told us, you live as if you're already there, that you're already in that community, part of that sense of one family, one house. You visualize it. If you can have faith that it's there, for you, it is already there. As a Unitarian Universalist, building the beloved community, to me, means to live in covenant with each other and to fully live out the 8 principles. As we work and worship together, always remembering the inherent worth and dignity of each other, no exceptions. It also means widening the circle of our community to enrich us with a diversity of viewpoints and experiences, especially those that may be different than mine. As a citizen, one with a lot of privilege, Building the beloved community means that I have an obligation to speak up and speak out, causing good trouble to support marginalized brothers and sisters. In his book, Across That Bridge, Life Lessons and a Vision for Change, Representative Lewis closes with the following: you are a light. You are the light. Never let anyone, any person, or any force dampen, dim, or diminish your light. Hold only love, only peace in your heart, knowing the battle of good to overcome evil is already won. Choose confrontation wisely, but when it is your time, don't be afraid to stand up, and speak out against injustice. And if you follow your truth down the road to peace and the affirmation of love, if you shine like a beacon for all to see, then the poetry of all the great dreamers and philosophers is yours to manifest in a nation, a world community, and a beloved community that is finally at peace with itself.
You don't need me to share anything more than that, right? Okay. I'm so delighted to see so many of you here today and to see visitors. And visitors, this is one of those Sundays where we talk a little bit about inside baseball, a little bit about congregational life. I hope that the love and the themes and the vision underneath that, there's not too much of it, will be inspiring to you nonetheless. I'm glad you're here. We're glad you're here. Back a while ago, I'm hesitant to say almost 28 years ago, a long while ago, I was the co-conductor of a queer chorus in Victoria, British Columbia. Men and women and trans folks and our allies came together to sing. And we had sung for years in smaller performance spaces, but this time we had moved into the big performance hall in town. It was a much more impressive venue. There was a little bit more on the line financially and emotionally as we sang there, and we were hosting a really excellent choir from, Vancouver across the strait, and we just weren't ready. The dress rehearsal was awful. Probably one of the worst experiences of my life. Some of the stuff we had prepared was fine. Some of the things were mediocre, and some things were actively falling apart as we rehearsed them. I'm not all that happy to let you know that it did get testy a couple of times. We were a little demoralized, and many of us were wounded, it seems, by the experience. My co-conductor and I, when we weren't being grumpy along with everybody else, did our best to rally our spirits and our in-tune singing, but we were not in a great place ourselves. The concert was fine. We muddled through the things that we knew weren't going to go well, did pretty well on the other stuff, and had an absolute blast singing together with the other choir. And then the Wednesday, after the concert, at our regular rehearsal, we sat in a circle and we talked. People shared their confusion, some anger. People shared gratitude that we'd gone ahead with the concert anyway. People shared wondering about how we got to that place. People questioned leadership. People questioned the commitment of others to the choir. It was a challenging conversation. It was always our practice after a large performance to sit together and to share, to debrief, to reconnect. And it was a hard conversation, especially for those of us in leadership. It was humbling. And at the end of the evening, one of the founding members of the choir and I were in the foyer, and I asked her how she was. She paused and looked me in the eye and said, "It's just that I've never been yelled at in public before." I was stunned and heartbroken. I had very definitely been angry and frustrated during the dress rehearsal. I had no doubt about that, but I had no memory of yelling in anger. It didn't feel like it was my way of anger. My way of anger is often to get very, very quiet. But that's what she had experienced. We talked for a while. I listened. I apologized. And we returned to the work of the choir, all of us a little more humble. The community was intact, even if it felt a little bruised and tender. Because communities are important in our lives, and different communities exist to do different things. They are containers for different hopes and actions. You know, there's something I've often said in meetings and in one-on-one conversations here and in other congregations. I often say, you know, we have to know. We have to be clear. We have to make decisions as if we know that we are not the Sierra Club. We are not the Country Club. And we are not a political action group. We can and should engage in the work of environmental justice. We can and should be engaged with the political work of our communities and nations living out our values in the world. And we can and should be a place for connection and community. Please do not hear me saying we shouldn't do those things. But we are gathered, at least I hope we are gathered, also by something deeper, something broader, something that inspires and supports those other things, yes, definitely. But something that inspires and supports our hearts and our spirits and calls us to grow into being deeper and more relational beings, more connected with ourselves, each other, and the cosmos. We are gathered around values, values that call us to be in the service of love. They call us to the healing of ourselves, the growth of understanding of ourselves and our relationships, and the healing of the world around us, the building of what we have come to call the beloved community. Now, the idea of beloved community was originally developed as an idea by a theologian and a philosopher named Josiah Royce. This idea, this vision that he championed, was then championed and shared and brought to our work and our lives through the civil rights movement, most notably by the work of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and John Lewis and others. King shared a vision of a beloved community which was the outcome of nonviolence, which truly welcomes all and in which, he said, racism, bigotry, and prejudices are replaced by an all-inclusive spirit of kinship. Now, I'm delighted that we will be welcoming Dr. Mignon Pollard to our pulpit next week to also explore with us King's beloved community. And I don't want to take away from what she is going to invite us to do and invite us into. I hope that you will all be here for that service. But today I want to pick up on a couple of things that have been shared by Julia, Jane, Walter, and Joaquin. Julia shared John Lewis's understanding of beloved community. She said that he described this community as not hateful, not violent, not uncaring, not unkind, and that community means not separated, not polarized, not locked in struggle. If it is not those things, then it must be loving, nonviolent, caring, kind, connected, inviting of diversity, and able to engage in conflict in loving and relational ways. Like many of you, I imagine, I spent the last few days either glued to my television or constantly refreshing the newspaper app on my phone to find out what was happening in the House of Representatives. I will admit I was up rather late Friday night. It seems like chaos. Seems like deadlock. It seems like pettiness and nastiness and narcissism continue to rule in our political system, or at least in some parts of it. It feels like it's the farthest thing from what we hope our country, our nation, our society to be petty fighting over nothing. And it's not just that the pandemic and its economic and social impact have us all a little snarkier, a little discombobulated, a little at the edge of our ability to cope. Our politics have been moving in that direction for a long time. And so I'm not advocating that we look to our political system as model of how we want to build beloved community. When it functions, it does important things. And so you know me well enough to know that I always look to Star Trek. This may be a little bit of inside baseball, but Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, the original series, and its sort of guiding light through the next generation, had an idea. He had a rule that there would be no fighting among the main crew, no interpersonal conflict within the main Starfleet crew, obviously despite McCoy and Spock nipping at each other. And this was very true for the original series and the next generation. There wasn't any sort of political infighting amongst the crew, not a soap opera at all. But after Gene Roddenberry's death, the showrunners loosened up on this. And we got much more nuanced and deeper building of relationships in the series that followed Deep Space Nine and Voyager and in the Star Trek shows that we have now. It's a little inside baseball, I know, but what I mean to say is that as much as Roddenberry's Star Trek is dear to my heart, what I return to over and over again are the episodes and series that portray relationships as complex, sometimes difficult, and intentionally crafted. That is one of the places I draw my inspiration about community and what kinds of community I want to be part of building. We have been, excuse me. Plan ahead, Ian. We have been talking this year about the tools to build the beloved community. We've explored resilience and topology and the responsible learning needed for change. We've talked about the cultivation of curiosity and wonder, about choosing hope, about living through our fear. One of the tools of the beloved community we've also talked about is covenant, about our promises about how we will live together. Julia shared about it earlier this year and today, and it's a really central part of who we strive to be as a community, a place where we are grounded in the promises we make to each other about how we want to live together in community. Jane and Joaquin shared with us some thinking about the difference between safety and comfort, which we'll get to eventually this year, about the ways we can build communities that allow us to bring our whole selves and become more together. They shared thoughts about covenants that don't just tell us how to be, but which, I quote, move us toward beloved community where everyone can be their whole selves. This kind of covenant calls forth our full presence with one another in authenticity and spiritual vulnerability. It invites the creation of braver space together, space where we are supported to take risks and move out of our comfort zones in the service of our own spiritual growth and true liberation for all. And it's all very well to talk about these things in abstract terms to invite our minds to ponder. And it's also important that we figure out how to actually do these things, especially for those of us who claim Unitarian Universalism. In their book, Mistakes and Miracles, Congregations on the Road to Multiculturalism, Nancy Palmer Jones and Karen Lynn ask us to realize that, quote, ours is a practical theology. If we take this faith seriously, it must have a real and discernible impact on how we live. Any compelling expression of the theology that calls us to multiculturalism and anti-racism must have this practical thrust. Now, the Unitarian Universalist Association has chosen that book, Mistakes and Miracles, as a common read for congregations this year, and here we have also chosen to read this book together. You'll find information about ways to get the book and opportunities for engagement with others in the newsletter and other announcements over the coming weeks. Please do join us in any and all of the opportunities to share, and do seek out the book and read it. This book shares the stories of 5 Unitarian Universalist congregations who are intentionally choosing the work of building a just, loving, multicultural, and anti-racist beloved community in their congregations. We're hoping it can be an inspiration and support and resource in our work here. Because it is work. Sorry, it's work. We are called not to be passive and assume that everything will be fine, but to be always proactively choosing relationship, to intentionally engage in transforming how we relate to each other, how we relate to our deepest selves, how we relate to the world around us. And this points to another way that this congregation has chosen to live into the beloved community. Over the past years, we have developed and adopted a right relations policy and procedures. You can find those on the website if you're interested. A document which holds up ways in which we aspire to live out our covenant and also outlines our hopes and intentions about how we will work together toward healing and reconciliation when our relationships do not go well, when we wound each other inadvertently or intentionally, when we need to find ways to reconnect. In my mind, the policy is a tool of the practice of covenant, which is a tool of beloved community. It's all connected. Now, your committee on ministry, the members of which have shared in this service, we are charged with helping guide the congregation into the living out of our covenants and honoring the policies we created. And over the next months, there will also be opportunities to engage with this work in different ways. There may be workshops or sermons, readings, smaller conversations, and I hope you will participate in this with curiosity and intention. Because beloved communities don't just happen. They do take work. And it is true that we each come into this life with inherent worth and dignity, and that we are beautiful and wonderful people. Hear that from me. You are beautiful and wonderful people. And even the most beautiful and wonderful among us have some rough edges, or make mistakes, or bump heads. Congregants, ministers, musicians, volunteers, leaders, we all make mistakes. Like the cars that we drive, sometimes they have, I'm not comparing you to cars, don't worry, but the cars we drive sometimes have big destructive accidents, huge breakdowns. But we're less likely to run into problems if we do small, routine maintenance, aren't we? We can all, and I include myself in that we can all get better at being together. We don't have to pretend that conflict doesn't happen or get obsessed with being perfect. We can work individually and together to get better at being in community. So back to my choir. It was a year later, and we were participating in a national festival for LGBT choirs, and it was our turn to perform. In the audience was the director of the choir we'd shared that troubled concert with the year before. And as we walked on stage, he told me this later, as we walked on stage, he leaned over to his friend sitting beside him and said, "They're not very good. They're really nice people, but they're not really that good." He told me about this later. We went to college together, so he told me about this later. And then we sang, and we rocked the house. We were tight. We were a volunteer choir, but we were tight, we were in tune, we were energetic, and we were having an amazingly good time doing it, and you could tell. There was a really snarky review of the whole festival in one of the gay papers, and we were the loudest choir in the universe, apparently. So we had a great time. And that director was the first person on his feet applauding after we were finished. We hadn't forgotten about the troubles we had. There were still some scars. Our relationships with each other were different and sometimes still a little touchy, but we were stronger, more loving, more trusting of each other, played out in our music. We had done the work of staying in uncomfortable spaces with each other and had come through stronger. Because we hadn't run away from difficult conversations or just swept it all away as if that dress rehearsal hadn't happened. We looked at our leadership, our preparation, our care for our relationships, and we had done the hard and loving work of rebuilding slowly. I hope you can hear me with curiosity and an open heart in mind when I say to you that I hope, with all of my love, I hope you get more out of participation in your religious community than just a sense of belonging and comfort. I hope you find those things. But I hope you find those things definitely. But I hope that being part of this community can be an invitation, a call to intentional transformation. Over the next month, we are going to be exploring more intentionally how we can live in right relation with each other, how we can grow in ways that we relate to each other in ways that are honest, kind, curious, just, and loving. We may hit some bumps along the way, but I hope that you will join in with that work when opportunities arise. I hope you will create opportunities for yourself to work on this together. My hope is that we will together do the work of building the beloved community in our hearts so that we can build it here amongst this gathered people, so that we can model and engage with the wider world and create an invitation for all to live and thrive in justice, kindness, and love. May it be so. The song we're going to sing together is one we don't do very often, Building Bridges. It's number 1023 in the Teal hymnal. The words will be on the screen. We're going to sing it just 3 times straight through, so by the end you'll probably have gotten it. I picked this song for its words and for its meaning for our service today, but also because it is the song that my choir in Victoria sang standing in a circle at the end of every rehearsal together. And so I want to invoke the spirit of that community here in this. Will you rise in body or in spirit as we sing together, Building Bridges?
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Please join me as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Sometimes I repeat closing words or opening words quite often, and partly because I think those words are really important for us to hear over and over again. And these closing words are deep in my heart, especially as I think about community. The Buddha once said that hatred will never cease by hatred. It will only cease by love. As we prepare to go forth into the world, may our lives be given not to fear, but to hope, not to hate, but to kindness, and not to indifference, but to love. Go in peace, my friends, to love and serve the world.